Bengals look to avoid another brownout here at Paycor. Mike Petraglia inside Paycor Stadium, where the Bengals look for their fifth straight victory against a nemesis that has given them absolute fits the last 5 times they've played them. That, of course, being the Cleveland Browns. These two teams met on Halloween, and it was the Browns racing out to leads of 11-0 and eventually 25-0 before the Bengals even got on the board early in the fourth quarter. Of course, that was a blowout, 32-13. Joe Burrow falling to 0-4 lifetime against the Cleveland Browns. Joe Burrow, who turned 26 on Saturday, would like nothing better than to finally beat the Cleveland Browns and improve to 9-4 overall on the season. Of course, that's the bigger picture, the more important picture, as the Bengals look to keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens. Perhaps, even if the Pittsburgh Steelers perhaps do them a favor and beat the Ravens today, the Bengals could find themselves in first place in the AFC North all by themselves. But first things first, Bengals need to take care of the Browns here inside Paycor Stadium. Of course, the Bengals do get a big weapon back today in one Joe Mixon. Mixon has missed the last 2 games due to concussion protocol. He was injured against the Pittsburgh Steelers on November 20th. He missed the 27th game against the Tennessee Titans and, of course, last week's game in Kansas City. And Samaje Perine has more than picked up the slack. 325 yards from scrimmage combined over his last 3 games. He has really fit the bill. Now, it'll be interesting today to see how the Bengals go about manipulating and using both Mixon and Perine in their offensive backfield. Certainly a good challenge to have for Zach Taylor and offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. As for the weather here, inside Paycor Stadium and in downtown Cincinnati, we're expecting temperatures of around 47 degrees at kickoff. It should be cloudy, so the sun won't be a factor, and not much wind to speak of, as we're expecting wind between 4 and 8 miles an hour throughout the game. So really the wind should not be a factor. Could be ideal conditions for Joe Burrow to toss around the football, but of course he needs to avoid the turnover. And everybody knows how that game began in Cleveland on Halloween. Every Bengal fan knows, at least, that tip pass by Myles Garrett intercepted by cornerback A.J. Green of the Browns. And then that really turned the momentum. Bengals offense was never really able to recover from that point. One key today is for the Bengals to get off to that fast start. If they can gain momentum, they can perhaps run the ball a little more at Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and keep them at bay in terms of their pass rushing disruptive abilities. So here inside Paycor Stadium, one other storyline to watch is, of course, the second game back for Deshaun Watson. Watson was suspended, of course, for the first 11 games of this season due to violating personal conduct policies of the National Football League. He sat out 11 games last week in that win over the Houston Texans. It wasn't because of the quarterback play. Deshaun Watson was just 12 of 22 for 131 yards. He threw an interception, no touchdowns. He was rusty, to say the least. The Bengals hope to throw some things at him that he hasn't seen coming off that hiatus, and Lou Anarumo and the defense certainly capable of doing that. But again, a lot of storylines to follow here inside Paycor Stadium. Second game back for Jamar Chase off his hip injury. He had a strong game last week for the Bengals, catching nearly 100 yards in receptions from Joe Burrow. Burrow and the Bengals look to finally snap that 5-game losing streak to the Browns and prove to 9-4 on the year. Cleveland comes in at 5-7. Be sure to follow all of my coverage all day long, before, during, and after the game between the Browns and Bengals here at Paycor at Trags, Trags on Twitter, at SCENESET.com, and of course, click and subscribe to the link below to follow the Jungle Roar podcast YouTube page. We'll have complete reaction after the game. Inside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.